G'day guys, welcome to Australia. In this video we're going to be doing a little rough sketch on your trip from Sydney all the way along the east coast, all the way to Noosa in about mid-Queensland. Along this trip we're going to be highlighting a lot of Indigenous and Aboriginal settings and where a lot of this history went down throughout our old country before the settlers, which still have a lot of remnants throughout the land as we speak. Starting off in Sydney, we have a lot of things to offer. Just going south, we can come down to a place called Bundina. And that's where we've got a lot of rock carvings and ancient, really old history that has a lot to do with the local people and how they used to be before the white settlers came. Even as you come in to Sydney, you go straight past where Captain Cook first arrived, and as he first went there and saw the Indigenous people. And the crazy thing is, when those boats were heading from Melbourne all the way to Sydney, even though they were zooming past the country, the word got passed from country to country, and that's Indigenous country, through Australia all the way to Sydney before the boats did. It's these sort of things that really make the Indigenous culture extremely amazing. So Sydney, you have this rich culture where you have some of the most amazing Indigenous people and figures throughout history, like Bennelong and all these famous warriors. Starting in Sydney, all you have to do is travel 1 hour north and begin our journey, where you go straight into national parks and beautiful old trees, where you're highlighting along the routes and really kind of walking these footsteps our forefathers used to. Because Australia is such an old country, and a lot of us, including myself, are immigrants to this beautiful land, it's very important to have high respect for these people and how they used to once exist. Heading past Sydney and out those few hours up to Newcastle, where the land starts to change. It starts from that rugged, harsh bushland that is so well known for Australia. You get up towards places like Newcastle and Port Macquarie, where it starts to turn a little bit more tropical. The ocean starts to go a little bit more blue, and you can tell from all those years ago when that water was amazing crystal blue, all the fish would have been full and all the people would have been eating from this. And as you go further forward, you can make your detour. We go straight back into Bellingen, another hub, very iconic place for the Indigenous of that area. And you have to remember that countries, even though Australia is the country here, the countries were only very small, and Bellingen and all around the hinterland, that area near Coffs Harbour, was one of the most famous spots for a lot of different reasons. But it's definitely worth checking out, including all the old pine forests that go around that area and the freshwater lakes running down. Absolutely amazing. As you head a bit further north, you run into a place which personally, it has a special place in my heart. This place is called Byron Bay. And this has huge indigenous history for a few reasons, but one of the main ones is that when women used to go through birthing, and when a lot of different people from the country around there used to go through very traumatic experiences, they would go to Byron Bay for healing from the land and healing from a lot of the different things that sort of area succumbs and has to provide for the people. Unfortunately now we've got a lot of people living there, which in the Indigenous eyes is not a very positive thing because it's such a strong, powerful area. But to be honest, going to visit as a tourist is definitely worthwhile for a lot of different reasons. Here you'd probably be around the 2-week mark, only because when doing this trip you really don't want to rush it. You want to make sure that this trip you're spending a few days here to learn from the elders, to learn from the people. It's so important to go and really dig your roots in wherever you go. Make sure that these sort of places are really becoming a part of you, not just you becoming a tourist. You want to be and take something away from this experience more than what a lot of people kind of get to experience. So it's very important. Another one is, now we're leaving Byron Bay. I know it's hard to leave. It's an amazing place. I don't want to leave. I could live there myself, but we're leaving. We need to go. We've got one more week. We're heading to Noosa. That's about a 3-hour drive from Byron Bay. You go past the Gold Coast and all those huge high-rise buildings. While they've built an industry on the water there, it's lost its... I mean, everybody has their opinion on a place, but for me, that has definitely lost a lot of its indigenous culture and what the place was about. So what we're going to do is we're going to drive right on by, and we're going to wave to all the casinos, and we're going to head up to a beautiful place called Noosa. And Noosa, similar to Byron Bay, a lot further north, has a lot of strong history in the indigenous and a very big presence within the community. So it's a very interesting place to visit, especially if you're surfing, if you want to learn how to surf, if you want to learn how to kite surf, if you want to do anything that is Australian in the ocean, Noosa is the place. And that's why we're going to spend one whole week exploring all the hinterland and everything that has to offer, because this place is truly amazing. And to finish up your trip up in Noosa, it is something you will never forget for a long time. If you need to fly out, we can fly out from Brisbane, that's 3 hours south. But these sort of areas, really targeting the indigenous and the Aboriginal history of this land, is something that, to be honest, not a lot of people really get to see. But by seeing this and by going through and knowing the knowledge and meeting the right people, you can come away from experiences, especially your Australian one, with something under your belt that not many other people get to experience. So I know, me personally being a musician and traveling the East Coast for the past 6 years, we've got to have some amazing experiences. But let's be honest, without that insight, without that sort of knowledge from me that's been passed on to me, I couldn't be here talking about my love for Australia and the East Coast and this very, very special trip planned. So yeah, it's time to put the wheels into motion. Let's get to Australia. G'day mate, put another shrimp on the barbie and we'll see you soon.